I want to talk to you about melatonin. Lately, many people are buying melatonin and taking melatonin to prevent the complications of the coronavirus, or perhaps prevent the infection of the coronavirus. And so it is written in many websites and many blogs, and it's on some of the magazines, but I don't think that many people understand exactly why and what are the consequences of doing such supplementations. So what is melatonin? Well, melatonin is actually not just a supplement, it's actually an hormone, and it's produced by a small gland in the brain called the pineal gland. And when we're really young, we tend to produce a lot of melatonin, and as we get older in our adult years and when we become elderly, we produce less and less of it. And that's one of the reasons why we tend to have more insomnia and we can't fall asleep as we get older. The young kids today seem to be less susceptible to the virus because the melatonin. And so the melatonin actually works by reducing the inflammation. If you recall from my last video, I spoke about the cytokine storm and how some supplementation can help calm that inflammation, which is the reason why people get hyperinflamed and can actually die from that virus. So melatonin is actually on its own an anti-inflammatory and really suppresses the cytokine storm. That is why it has been said lately in the news and in the magazines that you may have read that melatonin is effective for the coronavirus. So one of the things I have to say is that once we decide to take melatonin, we must understand that anytime we add any type of exogenous hormone through supplementation, we cause our body to actually stop its own production of it. So something to keep in mind, because we can sometimes dysregulate our own production of hormone if we do such supplementations. As far as the benefit for it, it seems to be that people who are the most at risk for it, for example, people with cardiovascular issue, can actually supplement with it, but I would encourage these people to discuss this with their physicians, because there are some contraindications and some precautions in certain cases. For example, people with diabetes should not just decide to take melatonin because it actually suppresses the insulin productions and can cause problems with diabetic people. People who have hypertension also should really consult before making the decision to take melatonin. In case of wanting to take melatonin, if that's the case and you really want to do it, there is two different ways of doing it. But number one would be something more like a maintenance. So you would take it, for example, at what we call physiological doses, meaning the smallest amount possible. We have to be very careful because a lot of those melatonin that's being sold on the market can be very high in dosage, up to 10 milligrams and maybe more. And this is a tremendous big amount of melatonin. Physiological dosage would be 0.2 to 0.5 milligrams. And this would be taken about 2 hours, 3 hours before bed in the evenings every day. Another way to increase your melatonin, don't forget, is that by doing it naturally. In the evening, getting the lights dimmed and getting into a much more relaxed environment would help us drop down the cortisol, which is the opposite of melatonin, and help us let the melatonin come up naturally. Unfortunately, we're not very good at this, right? The other way that people would use the supplementation of melatonin would be in a case of having been contaminated with the virus. And in that case, I really, really strongly recommend that you discuss this with your physician before engaging in such supplementation, because it has to be done with a very specific protocol that involves to take multiple dosage during the day, 2 or 3 hours apart, and it has to be combined with other supplements, such very, very large amount of ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and also nitric oxide. So just be very careful. Anytime, remember that you want to take any type of supplements, be educated, informed, and empowered, because you can really cause damage to your body. And remember that just because melatonin might work for one person and you've read on the blog that it's a great thing to do, it might not work for your unique body. So yes, it can be a good supplement, but not for everybody, and it has to be done the right way, and it has to be be done with the recommendation of your physician. Okay, so the bottom line is yes, melatonin is recognized as helping preventing hyperinflammation in the case of the virus, but it also has to be supervised because it is an hormone and it is not for everybody. I hope you learned something about melatonin today. I'll be back next time with a video and I'm going to tell you my favorite choices for supplementation for the coronavirus. I hope you have a great Saturday night and enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.